This charger works using pressure. As you walk, you generate pressure that in turn generates energy. Once you have arrived where you are going, you can now sit down and charge your mobile phone.
What if every step you took could charge your phone? A guy from Kenya made that happen in 2012, and Google's chairman literally wrote about him in a book. This isn't some concept that might work one day. It's real, it's been tested, and by the end of this, you'll understand why almost nobody's heard about it. Anthony Mutua was 24 years old when he showed up at the Kenyatta International Conference Centre in Nairobi with a shoe that could charge your phone. Not through some complicated setup, just by walking. He grew up in rural Kenya where electricity was unreliable, sometimes non-existent, and he watched people walk for miles just to find a place to charge their phones. So he thought, what if we could capture the energy from all that walking instead of wasting it? Here's how it works. Mutua embedded an ultra-thin chip of piezoelectric crystals into the sole of a shoe. Piezoelectric just means when you put pressure on these crystals, they generate electricity. It's the same tech used in lighters when you press down and get a spark. Every time you step down, the pressure squeezes the crystals and they produce a tiny bit of electricity. One step doesn't generate much, but think about how many steps you take in a day. Thousands, maybe 10,000 if you're active. All those tiny bits add up. The chip stores the energy as you walk, kind of like a tiny battery built into your shoe. Then, when you need to charge your phone, you've got two options. You can plug your phone into a cable that runs from the shoe to your pocket and charge while you're walking, or you can let the energy build up and charge later when you sit down. Mutua said in tests that an 800-meter walk, which is less than half a mile, could fully charge a phone. That's a walk to the bus stop, a stroll around the block, nothing crazy. And this thing was built tough. The chip is waterproof, dustproof, and mudproof because Mutua knew people would be wearing these in all conditions. It was registered and approved by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which means it met safety requirements and wasn't just some garage experiment. The chip was designed to last 6 to 8 years, which is longer than most people keep their phones and longer than most shoes last before they fall apart. Here's the part that makes it practical. The chip is transferable. You're not locked into one pair of shoes. When your shoes wear out, you can move the chip to a new pair. Want to wear sneakers today? Move the chip. Want to wear boots tomorrow? Move the chip. It works in any shoe except bathroom slippers, which makes sense because nobody wants electric shocks in the shower. Mutua showed this invention at Science and Innovation Week in Nairobi in 2012. The shoe was priced at 3,800 Kenyan shillings, which was about $45 at the time, and it came with a 2-day half-year guarantee. That's cheaper than most smartphones and way cheaper than portable chargers that die after a year. The National Council of Science and Technology gave him a grant of 500,000 shillings, about $6,000, to develop the technology further. Eric Schmidt, Google's chairman at the time, visited Kenya and saw what Mutua had built. He was so impressed that he mentioned the charging shoe in his book, The New Digital Age, calling it innovation from the ground up. That's not a small thing. The chairman of Google, one of the biggest tech companies on earth, wrote about a 24-year-old from Kenya who built a phone charger into a shoe. Mutua won awards for this. He got second prize at an innovation competition during the Head of State Summit in Kinshasa. He won SME Product of the Year and Overall Innovative Product in 2012 at a trade fair in Kisumu. The charging shoe was selected as one of the top 40 African startups at Demo Africa 2013 in Nairobi. He was recognized among Africa's top 100 influential youths in 2016. This wasn't a gimmick that got some attention and disappeared. It was serious recognition from serious people. So why aren't we all wearing these shoes? That's the question everyone asks. The technology works, it's been tested, it's been patented, it's been praised by people who know tech, but mass production never happened at the scale needed to make these shoes common. Mutua said one of the biggest challenges was that the production machines needed to manufacture the chips at scale didn't exist locally in Kenya. He had to outsource, which increased costs, which made it harder to compete with cheap chargers flooding the market from China. There's also the reality that charging shoes solve a very specific problem, one that matters more in places without reliable electricity. In rural Kenya, where people walk long distances and power outages are common, this is a game changer. In cities where outlets are everywhere and power banks are cheap, the appeal is different. It's convenient, sure, but not essential. And for a product like this to go global, it needs to be essential or so affordable that people buy it just because they can. Mutua founded a company called Mutua Technologies to develop and sell the charging shoes. Mutua is the brand name, like Nike or Adidas, except these shoes charge your phone. He also started the Anthony Mutua Foundation, a non-profit that works on using technology to improve people's lives. He's involved with another company called Twain Technologies that focuses on solar water pump solutions. This guy didn't invent one thing and disappear. He kept building. But here's what matters. The charging shoe proves that innovation doesn't only happen in Silicon Valley or Seoul or Shenzhen. It happens in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in places where people see problems every day and think, I can fix that. Mutua grew up without reliable electricity, and instead of accepting it, he invented a way to generate power just by walking. That's not just clever, it's resourceful in a way that only comes from necessity, and the tech itself is brilliant. Piezoelectric energy harvesting isn't new, but applying it to footwear in a way that's practical, affordable, durable, and transferable, that's innovation. Engineers at big companies have tried similar concepts and struggled to make them work commercially. Mutua did it at 24 with limited resources in a country where manufacturing infrastructure for this kind of tech barely exists. The bigger story here is about what happens to innovations from Africa. Mutua got recognition, won awards, got funding, got written about by Google's chairman. But the charging shoe didn't become mainstream. It didn't get mass-produced and sold in stores worldwide. And that's not because the technology failed. It's because scaling an innovation from Kenya to global markets requires infrastructure, investment, and distribution networks that are easier to access if you're building in California or China. Think about how many innovations get buried because they don't come from the right place or the right person. How many Anthony Mutuas are out there with ideas that work, that solve real problems, but never get the resources to scale? The charging shoe isn't a failure. It's proof that talent and innovation are everywhere. The resources to turn that innovation into something massive are not. Mutua is still working, still inventing, still trying to bring wearable technology solutions to market. The charging shoe exists, it works, and maybe one day it'll hit mass production. Maybe it won't. But the fact that a 24-year-old from rural Kenya built something that impressed Google's chairman, won international awards, and actually solved a real problem for people who need it, that's the story worth remembering. So next time your phone's dying and you're desperately looking for an outlet, think about the fact that someone already solved that problem over a decade ago. The solution just never made it to you.